So let's get into it. It's the big question, right? You connect with someone, you care about them like crazy, but then somewhere along the way, that amazing feeling can start to feel like anxiety or fear or even just plain pain. How does that happen? Well, that's exactly what we're going to unpack. All right, here's our game plan. First, we'll look at the problem itself, love that hurts. Then we'll draw a super important line between love and attachment. We'll see how attachment actually builds up, and then we'll hit a turning point by looking at some core truths about life. Finally, we'll put it all together to see how you can love without the pain. So let's start right there with that feeling that brings so many people to this topic. The hurt that we feel in our relationships. It's so common, it often comes up as a really direct question. This is probably one of the most common questions people ask. If you've ever felt this way, you know that feeling that your grip is just a little too tight, and it's causing pain for you and for them, you are definitely not alone. This is a classic human struggle. So to find the answer, we have to get the diagnosis right. And the most critical step, the absolute key, is realizing that love and attachment are not the same thing. In fact, they can be polar opposites. Let's talk about pure love. In this view, love is a completely selfless wish. It's looking at another person and thinking, I just need you to be happy. And here's the most important part. If their happiness includes you, that's amazing. But if it doesn't, that's okay too. Their happiness is the only thing that matters. Now, attachment, it flips that idea completely on its head. It's a kind of selfishness. It looks at someone and says, I need you to make me happy. All of a sudden, their job in your life is to fill a need that you have. And this right here really lays it all out. Love says your happiness is what's important. Attachment says, my happiness is your job. See the difference? One is all about giving, and the other is all about taking. This means that the pain we so often blame on love, it doesn't come from love at all. It comes from attachment. So how does a real, genuine connection start to feel more like a cage? Well, it turns out there's a pretty predictable pattern that we can all fall into. It usually starts with idealization, this idea that this person is the one, the only key to my happiness. Logically, that leads to holding on, right? You grab on and don't want to let go. Then it can easily slide into control, where you're trying to manage their life to protect the relationship. And what's underneath all of that? The final step? Just a deep, powerful fear of losing them. And here's the huge paradox in all of this. Nobody likes to feel controlled. We all want our freedom. So the more you try to hold on, the more you try to manage their life, the more you actually end up pushing them away. The very thing you're doing to save the relationship is what ends up breaking it. So if holding on tighter is the wrong move, what is the right one? Well, the answer is about turning away from that fear and just facing the reality of how life works. I know, this can sound a bit intimidating at first, but honestly, it is the thing that will set you free. Okay, this next part is a big one, so just take a moment to really hear it. The idea is this. Remember that everyone who loves you and everyone who you love is going to leave you. It's a heavy thought, I know, but the point here is to face a fundamental truth, that through change or distance or even death, every relationship we have will eventually end. But here's the twist. This isn't meant to make you sad. It's actually the opposite. It's a wake-up call. When you realize that your time with the people you love isn't forever, that it's actually really short and precious, it changes your entire perspective. It pulls your focus out of some scary future and puts it right back here in the present moment. Because when you really get it, that this time is limited, the choice becomes crystal clear. Do you want to spend this precious time being afraid and trying to control things? Or do you want to spend it offering the best of yourself, your kindness, your affection, your love, right here, right now? This whole idea is actually supported by a really clear framework. So let's look at 3 universal truths from Buddhist teachings that can really help us practice this kind of present, compassionate love. These are the 3 big ones. Anicca, which just means nothing lasts forever. Dukkha, which is the reality that everyone has their own struggles. And anatta, the idea that you can't control other people. Let's quickly see how each one changes the way we love. First up, anicca, impermanence. This just drives home that everything is always changing. People change, feelings change, life changes. Nothing is set in stone. Trying to fight that is like trying to stop the waves. But accepting it, that's where you find your freedom. Second is dukkha, which recognizes suffering. This is so important for empathy. It reminds us that while we're going through our own stuff, so is everyone else. They have their own private battles. Once we remember that, expecting them to be our perfect 24/7 source of happiness just seems, well, totally unfair. And number 3 is anatta, or non-self. This one is so liberating. It's the truth that we simply cannot control other people. Not their thoughts, not their feelings, not their actions. Trying is just a recipe for disaster. So where does that leave you? It brings all the focus back to the one and only thing you can control, yourself, your choices, your actions, and how you decide to live your life. Okay, so let's tie this all together. When you accept that everything changes, when you understand that other people have their own struggles, and when you let go of the idea that you can control them, the way you love is completely transformed. Once you really let these truths sink in, that fear that powers attachment starts to just dissolve. And what takes its place is real compassion. You start to see other people clearly, as individuals on their own path, and you can truly, deeply just want them to be happy. This brings you to the ultimate mindset of loving without attachment. You can honestly look at someone and say, whether you stay in my life or not, I wish for your happiness. And that is the secret. When your love is just a pure wish for their well-being, totally separate from your own needs, it can no longer hurt you. It just becomes a source of peace. And so that leaves us with one final question to think about. Knowing that every relationship is temporary, that your time with the people you care about is precious and it's not going to last forever, how will you choose to show up for them? How will you choose to love right now, in this moment?